earlier in the year, as Sonic Frontiers was initially shown off, it didn't exactly put its best foot forward. It got a lot of Breath of the Wild comparisons, and I don't think those are going to stop. In fact, I really want to talk about them some. But mostly the things that people were talking about was the fact that the gameplay was kind of stilted and a little harsh in terms of movement, and the graphics were, let's just say it, kind of rough. I haven't really talked a whole lot about it because I'm not one to really make a lot of snap judgments about things without having played them. I actually found the initial reveal a little bit refreshing. I thought this isn't what it can look like when it comes out, but there's something to work with here. They just got some work ahead of them. Anyways, the more information that's come out and the more that we've seen, I have kind of a weird feeling this is going to be the 3D Sonic game that gets it. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, we ask the question, has Sonic Frontiers figured out open world 3D Sonic? Now, before we get going at all, I'm just going to say that I am an intense Sonic fan, but I have not played the game. Our own Jake Baldino has, and I'm drawing a little bit on his experience here in what I'm talking about, but I am not a casual Sonic fan. These are games that I have played since I was a child, and I've played all of them. I even gave what I would call probably the most even-handed case for Sonic Forces back when that came out. I, of course, had a laundry list of complaints for the game, but there are things that it did correctly. It's just it mucked it up with so much other stuff. I think Sonic Frontiers learned the lesson from Sonic Forces that needed to be learned. And oddly enough, I think that actually does mean incorporating a bunch of gameplay from Breath of the Wild. It is an open world game, and instead of shrines, there are cyberspace zones that function as traditional Sonic levels. Game Informer recently released a new piece on this game, which had somebody who actually was able to go in depth. These cyberspace zones are going to be arranged in worlds and acts. There's a 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, etc. And they seem to cycle through these various themes we're talking about. And I think that that's really going to work out in this game's favor because, again, they've sort of indicated this is going to be a fairly long Sonic game. I don't think we've ever had one that is like a 30 to 40 hour experience before. So if they give us a nice amount of different themes and variations, and then also a nice amount of different acts for each, and also the open world works out, I think this might be the game that breaks Sonic not only into the open world formula, but maybe has 3D Sonic figured out. The way that Jake talked about it was that it was this kind of specifically put together set of ideas where you would gain skills and that would allow you to traverse differently and fight enemies differently. And the way that this Game Informer article represents it, you're essentially going around searching for bosses, getting what they're calling portal gears, which you have to use to get access to the cyberspace levels. Cyberspace levels are how you get vault keys, which is how you open Chaos Emerald vaults. And apparently, you're really going to need the Chaos Emeralds for story-related reasons. I'm sure the traditional types of story-related reasons, as well as the fact that there's apparently something that just makes quick work of Sonic fairly early in the game. You're going to need them in order to fight that. And what I think is really cool, like, aside from the fact there's a clear Breath of the Wild influence in the structure of the game, you can also really see a lot of the Sonic DNA. Like, there's stuff in here that I saw that really reminds me of Sonic Adventure. I remember going around the, like, hub world in the areas where there's temples and all of that, and a lot of this really kind of reminds me of that. Sonic Adventure actually was kind of the first Sonic game that said, yeah, actually sometimes, you know what, there's gonna be slow parts either in story or in spectacle where you stop and take things in. And I think sometimes that worked pretty well in Sonic Adventure and sometimes it didn't. I think if I'm honest, it looks like it has the potential to work for real here. Assuming they're able to create a consistently progressing experience in the open world. That's part of what made Breath of the Wild so good. In In a lot of ways, Breath of the Wild actually sounds like a kind of limiting version of an open world, but it turns out to be something that is a lot more enabling of your own sort of creativity. The open world kind of functions a bit as a platform for you to express yourself, obviously within specific limits, but I can actually see that in the design here. It's obviously a completely different type of expression. You've got, rails and grinding and speed and a lot of other craziness. But I have a feeling that you're going to be able to spend time pulling off really satisfying combos that get you across the world in interesting ways. And I almost think there might even be a slight Tony Hawk's Pro Skater feel to some of that. I know people don't typically compare Breath of the Wild to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but there's actually some key similarities. And with Sonic's speed and the various powers, it looks as though he's going to be able to acquire that involve both combat and traversal. It might be a good setup for some pretty cool maneuvers. Obviously not as extensive as Tony Hawk, but I think a lot of the implication of even putting Sonic in an open world is, hey, you're going to be able to trick around this thing and it's going to look really cool. Now, what Jake said was that he was kind of unimpressed by the open world. He's a little 50-50 on it, to use his exact words. But he also said the more he was in it, the more he liked it. He played the game for about 20 to 30 minutes, and over the course of his time in the open world, it unlocked new things that made the open world more interesting. So my question here is, if that worked over about a half hour, does that continue throughout the whole experience? If we're going based off the 3 or 4 hours that the Game Informer author was able to play, yes. It seems like that's the direction they're taking. There's a continual unlocking, there's a skill tree, combat becomes much more varied and tactical even. Again, it's Sonic, so I'm sure there's a certain limit on that, but everything we've seen of the combat that they've shown us, I think is pretty cool. It looks somewhat novel. Like, there's a lot of different elements to Sonic combat that come together into one fairly unique looking thing. Like, there's a couple of things that you can see from the Souls-like genre, like parrying is part of the combat in this, but there's also some Platinum Games looking stuff. Then there's some more traditional Sonic looking stuff. There's some more environmental stuff like the Psy-Loop, the thing where you're seeing Sonic run in a circle around something and it causing various environmental effects. They've also revealed Super Sonic for Sonic Frontiers, but there's a lot of interesting stuff going on regarding the fact that it seems like he's for fighting these Titan bosses, the largest bosses in the game. However many islands there are, that's probably the number of Titan bosses there are, and that's probably the number of times you're going to be Super Sonic, at least for that portion of the game. There's a lot of speculation going around about more Sonic forms, including one where his corrupted hand that appears to be a superficial Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel similarity might be a giveaway for the overall story of this game. I think I have it cracked personally. I think it's probably all a virtual world and Sonic's avatar is being corrupted within. I think we'll see corrupt Sonic at some point. I don't know. I really want to play it. Like, I hope there's a demo of it, and I hope that it comes out a while before the game itself comes out, because that would show a lot of confidence as well as let people sort of get what the game is. I know it didn't look good when Takashi Iizuka said that people just didn't understand the game, but I think that's actually the case. I don't think they did a good job explaining it, but I think that from everything we have seen, you can now put together what this game is going to be. I don't think it's going to feel like as much of a departure from the Sonic stuff that works in the 3D Sonic games since the boost mechanic was introduced. But B, I think we're going to see a lot of throwbacks to stuff that was maybe in Sonic Adventure. I don't know, like I said, the style just really reminds me of the parts in Sonic Adventure where you're roaming around temples in the hub world, except much, much more fluid and action-packed. I think we're in for something that works. And if you guys remember way back when the Nintendo Switch launched and I was like, I think this is gonna work and it's gonna be a massive hit, despite what maybe some people think at this point, I'm starting to think about that that from this perspective. Like, here's the thing. Sonic is really, really popular right now. The Sonic movies are doing incredibly well. They're fun. Jim Carrey's fun as Dr. Robotnik. Despite the fact that Sonic Forces sucked, Sonic Mania is actually pretty fresh in all of our minds. And although Sonic Origins didn't live up to what it needs to be, it's still great to run through those old games. And I'm going to stand by that. It's on sale on Steam right now, actually, for $29, which is a little more worth it than the actual $40 price tag. And they've made some fixes, namely Tails works correctly now. But even with the so-so stuff in Sonic Origins and Sonic Forces being all but forgotten at this point, Sonic is actually at a high point, and there's a decent chance this is Sonic Team finally getting it. From everything I have seen, it looks like a balanced formula where they focus on what works and keep the focus there. That goes for the open world segments as much as it goes for the more linear course-oriented segments. And they've adopted the structure of Breath of the Wild, where you got a big open world and shrines with challenges in them. They've adapted that to the zone structure, and I just think it's gonna work. And I think it's gonna be really good. I don't want to tell you there's no chance that they mess it up. This is apparently going to be like a 30-hour game. That's a lot of Sonic content, but it just looks like they got it right this time to me. I am no longer cautiously optimistic. I'm just optimistic about this game, and I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on it because I'm going to make a follow-up video for this the moment I can. Whether Sega throws me a bone or I end up waiting for the November 8th release date, that's up in the air, but I'm really looking forward to it. Well, that's my opinion, though. What are you thinking? Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Gameranx.